When I was a freshman in high school, I had a friend named Joel who was a couple years older than me. He was a lot of fun. We had great times in Joel's orange Volkswagen Beetle. That was a great car. One Sunday night after church, we thought it'd be fun to take the car on the bike trails down by the river. There were big signs that said no motorized vehicles allowed. That didn't stop us. We had a great time, but we kind of lost track of time. And when I got home about 1:30 the next morning, my parents were sitting in the living room waiting. It seems I was in a bit of trouble. Joel's parents had called. He was also in trouble. It wasn't a good ending to the weekend. And after that, even though I was younger, Joel's parents decided that I was a bad influence. True. Joel was no longer allowed to spend time with me. That was our last great adventure in the orange Volkswagen. Maybe you've had that same experience. Well, I mean, you probably had it the other way around. You weren't the bad influence. But there was a friend who for some reason was a bad influence on you. You were a good kid, but when this one person was around, or this may still happen in your life, you turn into an idiot. Your mom or dad sat you down and said, you can't be friends with him anymore. You argued, it didn't do any good. Depending on your age and your parents' generation, at some point in the conversation, your mom and dad said, after all, son, birds of a feather, you flock together. It was easy when you were a kid. Mom and dad watched your friends. If someone was leading you in the wrong direction or had evil intentions, mom and dad figured that out and got them out of your life. At that time, it might have made you mad, but you recognize later, or you will recognize later, that was a blessing. If you're like me, you probably look back on some of the mistakes you made and realize you made them because of the people around you. You do stupid things when you're with stupid people. Thought I'd get a little more response from that. So a key question is, how do you recognize people who don't have your best interests at heart, but instead want to cause harm? How do you know who the people are who want to divert you from God's plan for your life? In the last 3 weeks, we've been looking at a story in the book of 2 Samuel. David and Saul were arch enemies. Saul was king. David was anointed by God to be the future king. That made the current king, Saul, unhappy. He tried to kill David. Through it all, David and Saul's son Jonathan remained best friends. David and Jonathan made a covenant, a series of promises, not to just to each other, but that extended to future generations. Now, years after Jonathan's death, David searched for someone related to Jonathan so he could fulfill the covenant. David found Jonathan's son, Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth was dropped as a child when Saul's household was running from David, and he was crippled for life. Mephibosheth survived the battle that killed his entire family, but he'd been hiding in the wilderness for years. He was the last surviving member of Saul's family, David's enemy. And today, we look at a part of the story most people miss. There's a villain in this story. Maybe some of you picked up on it, even though I've been very careful to avoid talking about him through the first 3 parts. When David went looking for a descendant of Jonathan, he questioned a man named Ziba, who once worked for Saul. David assigned Ziba and his family to Mephibosheth as servants. All seemed well, but as you'll see, Ziba's true character and agenda was later revealed. Ziba manipulated, lied, cheated, and deceived with great effectiveness. Ziba plotted and schemed to destroy everything that Mephibosheth had gained. Once again, this is a type. A type is something in the Old Testament that points to the New Testament or the future. In this story, Mephibosheth is a type of us. David is a type of God. without God, just like Mephibosheth. We're lost and alone, wandering in the wilderness. God extends his grace, even though we don't deserve it, and he invites us to a place at his table. Ziba is a type of Satan, and the people he uses to try to keep you from God's house and God's blessings. Zebas are people who, through their actions, words, and deceptions, try to lead you on the wrong path, away from God's plan for your life. God's grace is extended to all. It's a free gift. Zebas try to keep you from that gift. So looking at the story one more time, I want to show you characteristics of people who work against God's plan. And if you have a pattern of unhealthy relationships in your life, if you have a pattern of broken friendships, I want you to listen very closely. 2 Samuel chapter 9, verse 1, David asks, "Is there anyone still left of the house of Saul to whom I can show kindness for Jonathan's sake?" Now, there was a servant of Saul's household named Ziba. They called him to appear before David, and the king said to him, "Are you Ziba?" "Your servant," he replied. Well, Ziba was not David's servant. He'd never been loyal to David. He was Saul's man. Somehow, Ziba avoided death when the house of Saul was destroyed. And because we know the end of the story, we know that Ziba was only pretending to be loyal. Zebas in your life will do the same thing. They pretend to be loyal in order to gain favor. They try to convince you of their love, their loyalty, their good intentions, all the while hiding their true agenda. You should know better, but it works. Someone tells you what you want to hear, and so you allow them into your life. Be careful. Just because someone says what you want to hear doesn't mean they have your best interests at heart. I can't tell you how many times someone has rejected my counsel and got angry with me because I didn't say what they wanted to hear. But why would you ask for advice if you only want people to agree with you? I wish I could tell you the stories of how many marriages we say, "Don't do it, it's not going to work, this is going to be a train wreck." They get mad at us. And then 6, 8 months later, they come back, "My marriage is a mess, why didn't you tell me?" Come on, be smarter than that. The king asked, "Is there no one still left of the house of Saul to whom I can show God's kindness?" Ziba answered the king, "There is still a son of Jonathan. He's crippled, both feet." Ziba knew David's attitude towards the handicapped, that he despised them as weak and useless. So what did Ziba do? First thing out of his mouth, he announced Mephibosheth's major flaw. Zebas in your life will do the same thing. They are quick to point out the fault in others in order to make themselves look better. To get on your side, they talk bad about leaders, friends, churches, other people. They say things like, "Well, they didn't treat me fair. What they did to me, it was wrong. If you knew what they were really like, you'd run." I know the behind-the-scenes story. Anytime someone says that, run like the wind. That's the classic line of a manipulator. They don't support me. They won't support you. They're mean. They don't want people like you around. They target your friends, your parents, your pastors. They seek to gain favor by criticizing others. Don't fall for that. Don't tolerate it. Shut people down when their words are negative. If you can't shut them down, stay away from them. Find new friends. Don't be deceived, and don't you dare be a party to their sin. And get real. As soon as you're gone, they're talking about you. In fact, they already are. If you only learn one thing today, listen to this close. This is a life principle that will help you. People who are negative about others to you will be negative about you to others. Count on it. Write it down every time. If you listen when someone else is the target, one day you will be the target. Only weak, insecure people lead by attacking others. They do it because fear and manipulation is the only way they know to lead. Then the king summoned Ziba, Saul's servant, said to him, "I've given your master's grandson everything that belonged to Saul and his family. You and your sons and your servants are to farm the land for him and bring in the crops So your master's grandson may be provided for, and Mephibosheth, grandson of your master, will always eat at my table. Now Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants that are now all servants of Mephibosheth. Then Ziba said to the king, your servant will do whatever the king commands him to. At this point in the story, if you look close, Ziba's attitude is obvious. David didn't see it. Ziba didn't say, king, I'll be honored to serve. Ziba didn't say, Mephibosheth is my master. Instead, Ziba said, your servant will do whatever my lord the king commands his servant to do. In other words, if you make me, I'll do it. And with that attitude, we get a vivid look at Ziba's real character. Character is revealed by attitudes. The two are connected. Attitude is a window to character. You can't make excuses for people. Well, he just has a bad temper. I know it sounds bad, but he's a really good guy. She's always talked like that. That's just the way she is. She's not really a gossip. He's just hurting. I've learned the easiest way to find the right side in a dispute, look to see who has the right attitude. Attitude reveals character. Zebas reveal themselves by their accusations, by their attitudes. If one person is hurling accusations and the other person is quiet and humble, guess what? Easy decision to know who's right. If one person's attitude is God-honoring and the other person's attitude is critical gossip, it's easy to choose the right side. If you run from a bad attitude, you will save yourself in an encounter with bad character. Now jump ahead, 2 Samuel 16. Now you're going to find the rest of the story. David's son Absalom staged a revolt, took over the kingdom. David had to flee the kingdom, weeping, a disgrace. When David had gone a short distance beyond the summit, there was Ziba, the steward of Mephibosheth, waiting to meet him. He had a string of donkeys saddled and loaded with 200 loaves of bread, 100 cakes of raisins, 100 cakes of figs, and a skin of wine. You say, well, that sounds nice. No, Ziba was giving away Mephibosheth's stuff. He didn't say, my master sent this stuff to you. He stole Mephibosheth's blessings and gave it away. Ziba was supposed to be a steward, but he was violating the laws of stewardship. Zebas are poor stewards. If someone's personal financial life is in disarray, and they're poor stewards, they don't give God what God commands, be very careful. Don't marry a non-tither. You say, well, how do I keep from that? Just say to him, before I say yes, he gets on his knees, he's giving you a ring. Before I say yes, let's call the church and let's hear your tithing record. You say, that's crazy. No, it isn't. Don't even date a non-tither. Make them show you their giving receipt before you go out on a date. Whatever you do, don't go into business with one. If someone's a taker and not a giver, they're probably not God's plan for your life. If they're willing to steal from God, what makes you think they're not going to steal from you? It's important to remember that's not the only sign, but it's a key one. The king asked Ziba, why have you brought these? Ziba answered, the donkeys are for the king's household to ride. The bread and fruit are for the men to eat. The wine is to refresh those who become exhausted in the desert. In a difficult time for David, Ziba sensed an opportunity for personal advancement. Ziba was saying, look at me, king. I'm here for you. I don't know where anyone else is, but I'm here for you. I'll care for you. There's just one problem. Ziba was using someone else's stuff to buy the friendship. None of it belonged to him in the first place. It's kind of like one time when Tyler was younger. He went on a date and he took my credit card. And that was okay. He came home and he gave me the receipt. And he said, the tip was enormous. I said, son, why do you give such a big tip? He said, oh, well, I'm generous. I said, no, you're not. That's my money. Beware of people who try to buy your friendship. Because one day they'll use your stuff to buy someone else's friendship. The king then asked, where's your master's grandson? Where's Mephibosheth? Ziba said, he's staying in Jerusalem because he thinks today the house of Israel will give me back my grandfather's kingdom. And as you'll discover at the end of the story, Ziba was lying. Mephibosheth said nothing of the sort. Mephibosheth loved King David. He would never try to steal the kingdom. David felt betrayed. In Mephibosheth's darkest hour, David had reached out to him. Now, in David's darkest hour, David believed the lie that Mephibosheth had deserted him and was working against him. Zebas are liars. It's one of my favorite questions. How many lies does it take to make a liar? I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, how many? Why would you all of a sudden decide to believe somebody who has a history of lying? Do you know what liars do? Come on, what do liars do? Yeah, that's their nature. I'll never forget. And it was so sad, it was almost funny. Someone had been hurling crazy lies to try to destroy a good man, a friend of mine. Someone else heard the lies, and even though they knew that person was a liar, they came to me and said, there's so much of it, some of it must be true. Does that make any sense? So, if you tell enough lies, then one of them's true. Why would you think a liar tells any truth? When you discover a liar, run. Don't listen to them. Don't keep them close to you. Cut them off. A lying leader is not a leader. They're manipulative and deceptive. Don't fall for that. Ziba told David that Mephibosheth was trying to steal the kingdom. Ziba was accusing Mephibosheth of doing to David exactly what Ziba was doing to Mephibosheth. Do you want to know an easy way to spot impure motives? Listen to what Zebas accuse others of, because they project their motives. They assume everyone shares the same value system, the same wants and desires. Zebas accuse others of the very things they're guilty of. If someone is constantly accusing, all they care about is my money, they only like me because of my money, do you know how they judge others? Their money. They reveal what matters to them with their accusations. It's scary how often this works. Someone accuses someone else by saying, well, he just wants my position. That's what it's about to him. Position. He wants to be noticed. He wants people to like him. You can count on it. That's their motive. That's what they want. So consider this in your own life. Is there a pattern in how you judge other people's motives? What does that reveal about your own? Then the king said to Ziba, all that belonged to Mephibosheth is now yours. I humbly bow, Ziba said. May I find favor in your eyes, my lord, the king. Ziba, it worked. He tricked David. He got all of Mephibosheth's stuff. And right here, I want to hit Ziba. I humbly bow. Give me a break. He'd never been humble. He wasn't then. Inside, he was jumping up and down with excitement. He got what he wanted. He got all the stuff. And my heart goes out to Mephibosheth. He was once lost and alone, but discovered the blessings of the king's table. Now, because of a Ziba in his life, everything was gone. Fast forward to chapter 19. David, now safe, was returning to Jerusalem. Mephibosheth, Saul's grandson, also went down to meet the king. He had not taken care of his feet or trimmed his mustache or washed his clothes from the day the king left until the day he returned safely. Those were outward signs of mourning. When he came from Jerusalem to meet the king asked, why didn't you go with me, Mephibosheth? Where were you? He said, my lord, the king, since I, your servant, am lame, I said, I will have my donkey saddled and will ride on it so I can go with the king. But Ziba, my servant, betrayed me. And now Mephibosheth understood that he'd been betrayed by Ziba The man who was supposed to faithfully serve him had plotted against him. Zebas will sell you out to advance themselves. You may be able to allow them in your life for a season without seeing it, but ultimately a Zeba will betray you, because that's just what Zebas do. You might be thinking back to a situation in your life. You knew he wasn't a Christian, but things would work out anyway, right? You thought she was your friend. That's what made the betrayal hurt so bad. You thought it could never happen to you, but suddenly you felt isolated, alone, and abandoned. If you allow Zebas to remain in your life, one day you'll be betrayed. The cost is high. Zeba, my servant, betrayed me, and now he has slandered your servant to my lord the king. No surprise. Zeba slandered Mephibosheth. Zebas never handle things straight up, face to face. Their preferred method of confrontation is exactly the opposite of the one Jesus taught. They go to others, build their case, spread their lies. Zebas talk behind your back. That's just what Zebas do. Again, you can spot a Zeba by how they act towards others. If they talk to others about you, they will talk to you. It's all connected. Be very cautious about being friends with people who refuse to resolve conflict biblically, who talk to you about their problems with others instead of following Jesus' instructions and going to the person the problem is with. Their dysfunctional conflict resolution habits will one day hurt you. Mephibosheth said to David, my lord the king is like an angel of God. Do whatever pleases you. All my grandfather's descendants deserve nothing but death from my lord the king, but you gave your servant a place among those who sat at your table. What right do I have to make any more appeals? The king said to him, why say more? I order you and Zebed to divide the fields. And for the first time in this story, I'm mad at David. How could he make that decision? Instead of giving everything back to Mephibosheth, Zeba got half. It doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem fair. But relationships with Zebas will always cost you. You may finally discover the truth and get them out of your life, but the relationship will cost you. It will cost you money. It will cost you missed opportunities. It will cost you time and energy. It will cost you peace and joy. It will cost you. You miss out on God's blessings when you tolerate a Zeba in your life. We can't hang out with Zebas. The price is just too high. My heart breaks for students and young adults and good godly people who've gotten distracted and off path because they're listening to Zebas, the wrong people. You know what I wanted to do today? I wanted to just pause right here, and I wanted to just go around the room and point out people and say, hey man, I know who the Zeba is in your life. I've been watching. He's leading you the wrong way. I want to look at some of you ladies and say, that guy you're dating is a Zeba. It's going to go bad. You need to get out while you can. That person you think is a spiritual leader in your life is manipulating you. It's going to cost you. That friend who's causing you to question your leaders is a Zeba. Don't fall for her lies. You better run from that. I wanted to go around the room and warn you, but I knew it wouldn't work. Then I'd just be the enemy. Zebas can be very crafty in their deceit and turn you against the people who have your best interests at heart. It'll cost you. Look at Mephibosheth's response. This is beautiful. David said, you split the staff. Mephibosheth said, let him take everything now that my lord the king has arrived home safely. And just like with Zeba, if you question whether attitudes reveal character, now you know it's true. Mephibosheth's attitude revealed his character. His statement was, Zeba can have it all. Doesn't matter what I've lost. All I want is relationship with the King. I just want to be restored with a relationship with you. And that's the point for us. Ziba may have robbed you of your blessing and set you off on the wrong path. You could have followed the wrong person to the wrong place. But relationship with God can be restored. You don't have to stay away. He wants to restore you and bring you back. Just like Mephibosheth, it'll cost you. But it won't cost you relationship. You can come back. You can always come home. Would you bow your heads with me? I want to pray for you. I want to pray for two kinds of people. Number one, you say, wow, as you're talking, I see it. And I see what it's cost me. And I followed the wrong people to the wrong place, and I'm not where I should be with God. I can't blame them. I made the decision to follow them, but I see it now, and I see the pattern. And I need a relationship with God restored. If that's you, would you just raise your hand? I'm going to pray for you. Yeah, thank you. Second kind of person I want to pray for. While I'm talking, you recognize a Ziba or some Zebas in your life. And you say, Pastor Rod, pray for me. Because I see that I need to make some changes. And I'm way down this path. This isn't going to be easy. Would you pray for me that I can fix this? And that I can make the move I know I need to make? If that's you, I want to pray for you. I'm not going to have you stand or come to the front. I know this is very sensitive. But if that's you, would you just raise your hand between me and you? I want to pray for you. Yeah, quite a few. Heavenly Father, I pray for people who recognize a Ziba in their life. Someone who, through deceit or manipulation or lies, has managed to worm their way in. Someone who has caused, whose attitude has infected us, and we've fallen for it. Lord, I pray for people who've recognized a relationship in their life that needs to be reframed or removed. And I pray, Lord, that you would give them the courage to make the decision and the wisdom to do it with grace, and that they would recalibrate and listen to the right people in their lives. Lord, thank you for this story as a warning. We see that and we're grateful to you. Lord, then I pray for people who are not in right relationship with you because they've followed wrong people. Lord, we ask for your forgiveness.